Hello and welcome to Little Pie, and in this video I'm going to show you how to install the Nginx open source web server from source. So first things first, you're going to want to update your system. Not a full update, just to check the repositories are all there and it knows what to install. It's good practice to do this before running anything in case there's been an update. So then the next thing you need to do is install the dependencies and lay the groundwork for Nginx to work. So luckily these are pretty common packages and they'll likely be installed, like that. But if not, just run that script. And I'll put all of these commands in a GitHub in the description because it's really annoying to paste all this code in the description. People don't like it because YouTube doesn't deal with code very well, the lines in the description. It kind of rolls over and makes things ugly. So putting it in GitHub's a pretty simple way to get it going. So that would just be a GitHub repo in the description. So once you've got that, you'll want to install the latest version because of security patches and whatnot. And at this point in time, in sort of mid 2020, we're looking at version 1.20.1. So just give that a run. It'll take just a second. It's 1 meg. It's tiny, and that's what makes it so great. But that's the compressed version, so we want to decompress it, unzip it. So do that tar right there, xzf nginx, hit tab to autocomplete. Done. Not very big, so it didn't take too long. And then we'll want to change directory into that, like so. And here's where the fun begins. So as you can see, we have a configure file, which if you've built from binary before, you'll know exactly what that does. And that sort of checks everything's there and lines it up for install with make. So I'll paste this and give it a quick explanation. So this tells it to install Nginx. Oh, here we go. Install Nginx in the etc directory, which is where it would go by default if you used the package installer apt. And then the modules path just tells it to put the modules in the Nginx directory because by default it goes in USR sbin, something crazy like that. And then here we put the HTTP SSL module, and here I remove the mail because it just kind of takes up space. I'm not using it for mail server, but if you are, you'll need to look up what config settings you'll need. So this is just what I have set up now, works for me, but obviously it's a completely open source program. You can do with it whatever you want, so there's a lot of flexibility. So you find out what you want to do with it and find the modules required to run that by literally just googling it. I'll put a link in the GitHub to the Nginx modules page in case you want to do some tinkering. But we'll quickly run that, and this will, well, it runs the config file. In case you get an error right there, the best thing you can do is do sudo apt install build essentials and git, and that'll ensure that everything's installed. So here we can see the PCRE library is not using. That's a pretty common one. I haven't got it installed because I don't need it, but if it gives you an error about PCRE, make sure to install that, and you can just Google the instructions for that. It's not too complicated, it's very similar to this. And here's an important one. I actually recommend copying this or writing it down somewhere. Relatively secure because it is your web server, but this sort of shows you where stuff is. So if Nginx throws you an error saying, I can't find this, you can find it manually and tell it where it is. So now that it's done configuring, it's lined everything up, it's really simple. You just type in make, and this will take a little while depending on how many modules you have installed. For me, it takes on this 3.5 gigahertz CPU on a VM. It takes about 2 minutes or so, but that's sort of just a benchmark for you. Alright, so at this point it's finished the configuration. You can see what modules it's put in and how it's got the setup with what it's pasted above. And ooh, nice lag. There we go. So now it's got everything lined up. It's very simple. You can do make, install, or sudo if you're feeling generous. And go. And that copies the files, moves them, tests them, and that's that. That is Nginx is installed. But obviously you're going to want to navigate and change files, so of course we set the prefix to etc Nginx, and it'll be up here if it's different for you. So we'll just navigate there with change directory, sorry. And here we go, here's all the setup. So nginx.config, that's actually write protected, so you need to be, well, the whole thing is you have to be super user, and there you go, you get all the basic settings and gzip and SSL and whatnot. So I'm assuming you've probably got a vague idea on how to config Nginx. If not, I mean, depending on what you're using it for, there's bound to be someone who's written a blog post about it. But other than that, one important thing to note is where to put your sites. You can literally put them anywhere, sites available, sites enabled, as long as in the config it mentions inside what type your site is, so HTTP, as long as you mention that your site is in here somewhere, it'll work just fine. Also, if you have extra modules, you can also, come on, uppies, you can chuck them at the top of the file here, modules enabled, configs and stuff, but that's dynamic modules, and that's an entire other video, but it's similar using the config. So that's basically Nginx. Now you want to enable it as well, and you'll notice that if you use sudo systemctl nginx, start nginx, you run it to that, and you'll probably status nginx. Look at that, beautiful. Now that's because it's actually installed a thing and user sbin nginx. And that is a good thing. If you run into an error with this, just find out where the file called nginx, like not even anything, not dot, find out where that is. You can create a symlink using sudo ln, or you can just navigate to that and type in sudo nginx -s for signal, and then reload, start, whatever, and that'll get nginx up and running. So this is up and running. If I was to go into a browser and go to localhost port 80, it would show the Nginx page, but that's a bit out of the scope of this video. This was literally just to get the basics of configuring it. The actual basics of setting up Nginx is an entire other video, because it does start to get a little bit complicated if you haven't done it before. But obviously, thank you for watching. It's great, it means a lot. Hit that sub if you wish, but if you don't, I mean, it's up to you. I'm not going to pry, I'm not that mean. So thanks for watching this.